just me. So that's my condition. If I can use this as a form of sadism and torture on others, then I'm giving it about a 7 or an 8.
So what Alan is saying that
it's a 6.
He's like Zoo.
Right. So I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6 overall. Some parts that I like, some interesting parts, some music that I like, and a lot of things that are worth watching, and a lot to just be thankful that you're done watching.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy to be done.
All right, that being said, I think that's the end of our bad movie, good movie reviews. Let's get it on. We're down to the wrap-up. We'll catch up with all of you in a second.
One more second. Sia, if you are listening to this podcast, we want you to make another movie, but would you want you to make a Christmas musical, please?
Oh, a Christmas movie, a Christmas musical, ideally.
Starring Maddie still, but maybe not autistic.
I want to again apologize, see if you're listening to this, because I feel bad. I sympathize with you. I understand your pain, and I feel really bad about all the negative response that you got.
I understand too.
That being said, I also understand people being hurt in the autistic community. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Yeah.
It was your first movie. People were criticizing it. You were hurt. They were hurt.
But I don't want that to take away from her efforts at maybe doing a sophomore film, where it's a little bit more grounded.
There were actually things that were here. That's the thing. There was plenty here to show potential for filmmaking, and that's why we want to see more from Sia, as far as that goes. We want to see more from Maddie. I particularly like Beto Colville. I would love to see him in another project.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nice to see him in something where he had some lines and roles, you know?
Right. He definitely deserves to be at least in another musical.
He's a fun presence, and I enjoy him.
He would totally fit in like some Hairspray style musical.
Right, he would. Oh my gosh, he would be wonderful in Hairspray, right?
Yeah.
Especially like on the show.
Right.
Oh, he would fit on so well.
Corny Collins show, yeah.
Right? Oh my. Okay, so we'll catch you all guys in just a minute with our roundtable wrap-up. All right, welcome to our roundtable wrap-up.
Roundtable wrap-up.
Good to have you all here. So what are we up to, Noe?
Well, I just picked up Elden Ring, and I've been obsessing over it over the last couple of nights.
That is the new Dark Souls game?
Dark Souls, written by George R.R. Martin.
Dark Souls, written by George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, of the Game of Thrones fame.
I've been watching you play it on the side, and is it easier than the other Dark Souls games?
It feels slightly easier. I mean, a lot of those bosses that you see me encountering, I don't really feel like they're bosses per se. They're more kind of like mini-bosses. They're not really terribly difficult, but some of them have been kind of frustrating. I mean, I've progressed through like maybe 1 or 2 main boss monsters, and those have been pretty hard.
I've seen you got stomped by like a dragon for like about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Before I realized that it was horseback combat the entire way. I kept getting knocked off the horse.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of horseback platforming in that game.
Yeah, just a little.
A little bit of horseback platforming. It was kind
of fun.
Yeah, it was kind of fun watching you.
It's like Alan things that you would do in other games.
Ridiculous ways to traverse. You know, speaking of that, I have been playing, not speaking of ridiculous ways to traverse, you know, ridiculous ways to reverse. That would be Death Stranding. Ridiculous ways to traverse, you know.
Traverse. Tertiarily, I'm going to kick your ass if you tell me how to say traverse again, I swear.
You know, but no, I enjoyed Death Stranding a lot just for the walking around and getting from one place to another.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part about it.
I enjoyed the motorcycle quite a lot. Really just being able to drive up a mountainside with a motorcycle that you're not supposed to drive up that mountainside with is a lot of fun to me.
Right.
I enjoyed the continuous process of falling down and dying.
And getting back up.
And getting back up. Not usually dying with Death Stranding, but that was a really fun game. I enjoyed that one a lot. More recently, though, I've been playing Planet Coaster.
Right, which was the free game last month on PlayStation.
And it's okay. The thing is about Planet Coaster is it tries to get you to not torture the guests too much. And I think that for at least half of the people who are playing coaster and theme park games, that's what they're playing them for, is just to torture people.
Torture people, right.
I mean, I watched my nephew play it. He didn't want to torture anybody. I didn't understand what he was getting out of the game. But he was having fun making legitimate rides.
That's what I liked about it.
That's what you liked about it.
It was everything I wanted out of a sim theme park when I was a kid.
You know, in Planet Coaster, it does let you have a little bit of fun with it, but honestly, I just made a really expensive park with one free ride. Yeah, just bumper carts. Just just like a $20 ticket to get in.
And then
and then bumper carts. One bumper cart set. and one extremely short queue line so that it can hold about 6 people in the queue line for the 18 people that can actually ride on bumper carts, and then just make it tons and tons of laps so that those people don't ever actually get to go on bumper carts. And then I have a little bit of fun because you can watch all the people come in, pay $20 to walk into your theme park, see the overrun queue line, and just immediately walk out. But that's the only kind of real torturing that you can do. I mean, you can do some stuff like run them over with some test tracks and everything, but I think Planet Coaster is the best that coaster games have been for a long time.
There hasn't been a good one since Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
2? That's what we were going to bring up.
Because 3 was the bad one, right?
Planet Coaster lets you completely design coasters. It lets you put in parks, it lets you put in rides, it lets you manage people, it lets you manage employees, and it is a good theme park building game.
Yeah, it is.
It's always going to be hard to overcome Planet Coaster because Planet Coaster, for all of its issues, it's not necessarily the cleanest thing you've ever seen in the world. But
it has everything that you want from it.
It has everything that you want, and it's an incredibly efficient game, and it will let you do a ridiculous amount of things. And the reason it is all kind of designed in this way where it will just let you stack things on top of things without actually crashing the game.
Right.
Is because it was all built in assembly. And that's why, really, it's so hard to overcome Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Right.
You have it built in such a primitive language that it's become so efficient that now with all these more modern games, where you have to have actual engines running the games, you have all this script that's unnecessary, and it's really hard just to get back to Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Right.
Planet Coaster is kind of there, I feel.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's really as close as anyone's gotten, so I would check out more from Planet Coaster in the future. That being said, I know this is a really, really old game, so what future is that? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll be there. I'll be there waiting for it.
I mean, we already knew that you liked old games.
Yeah, everybody already knew that I liked old games. That's not really a surprise.
Also, a part of the PlayStation free games, we had the Borderlands Tiny Tina's one-shot magical adventure.
Her one-shot magical adventure.
Something like that.
Right, we should have actually looked up the name of them.
It's the DLC of Borderlands 2 or 3 that was setting it up for this new game that just came out. Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
And the thing about that is we've played a lot of Borderlands. I like Borderlands. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tiny Tina's a bit for a couple of reasons. It doesn't manage to do a whole lot new.
No, it doesn't. I do kind of like the fantasy setting, just a little bit. I wish there were more melee weapons. It needed to set itself apart from Borderlands, and I think melee weapons would have been a way to go.
I would have enjoyed more melee weapons, because honestly, the most fun I'm having with the game is with my buzzsaw. I'm playing Pyro. I'm playing a character whose whole thing is just to set himself on fire. Right? And the more he's on fire, the more damage he does, and the more he sets other people on fire, the more he gains health. So that sounded like fun to me. Andy's got a big buzzsaw, and I kind of wanted to do a little bit more melee with this, and that has been letting me do it. So my favorite things are the buzzsaw, and then my fireball grenades, which let me feel like I'm casting a fireball. Right. So honestly, I wish they maybe would have leaned into it a little bit more.
I agree, and that was a complaint I had when I first heard of Tiny Tina's Wonderland. It should have leaned into the melee. It should have leaned into that Dungeons and Dragons feel. You shouldn't have replaced the guns with like crossbows or bow and arrows.
Yeah, if you had leaned into it a little bit more, I would be having a lot more fun, I think. Yeah, I dig how they've recontextualized like all the Borderlands characters as different D&D characters. I mean, that's kind of fun.
It was fun.
They've got Claptrap the Wizard and everything.
Right, and there's a few like direct references to like movies, the fantasy movies. Like he does the Gandalf, "You shall not pass," and then you just walk right past him.
Right. We haven't seen Scooter yet.
Oh, right, Scooter.
No spoilers there. I assume he's going to be in this, and I will be devastated if he's not.
Well, Scooter did die according to Tales from the Borderlands.
I don't care. He's still gotta be a part of it.
But, I mean, Roland was supposed to be dead, and he shows up, so yeah, I hope Scooter's around. Right. I love Scooter.
I didn't play Tales from the Borderland. I played Borderlands to death, to absolute death, to the grind core, everything done, completed 3 times. Please put it down now. You've got to do something else with your life. Right. To death. I played Borderlands 2. We played Borderlands 2 a reasonable amount. We played about half of it. We didn't
beat it. I'd say about half to the maybe three quarters of the way.
Right, and we've got Borderlands 3 on the docket to be done at some point in the future. I mean, it's gonna happen. We have other games though.
Yeah.
Other games and other stuff that we're doing. So what books are you reading, Noe?
Well, I just finished The Final Girls Support Club by Grady Hendrix. It was a Christmas present from Cody. And I liked it. It was really good. It was a treat for a lot of horror movie fans, especially of the 80s slasher movie genre. There is one complaint that I have is that it should have leaned into the women supporting women a little bit better, in my opinion. And that's how it's set up. It's set up to be this big support group where all these women are helping each other because they all survive their own horror movies. But then when you actually get any time with the girls, there's a lot of infighting.
I definitely dig that.
Yeah, there's a lot of infighting. For a book called The Final Girl Support Club, they don't really support each other a whole lot, not until the very ending of the book. HBO just picked it up for a limited run TV show. I think they're going to be filming that this year and it's going to be released next year. Which, that'd be a fun thing to watch. One thing that I hope they do change, I hope there is a knife kill or two in the movie, because the killer mainly used guns in this one, and that's a little disappointing.
It's kind of a movie about
slasher killers, and there's no slash to be found.
It's hard to do that with a gun. It's hard to sell the same narrative with a gun that you can sell with a knife, because a knife is such a personal weapon.
Imagine if they made Scream, and as a commentary for school shootings, they traded out the knife for the gun. It wouldn't be the same movie, and I feel like a lot of people would be really annoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening to Voluntary Committal by Joe Hill, and
I love that short story.
I enjoyed the short story. It's not based on the premise of the short story. I assumed I was going to like it a lot more. I enjoyed the main character a lot, and I enjoyed his relationship with his brother, and I think what I enjoyed the most was how he really dealt with the loss that the book provides, and how that weighed on him throughout his remaining years. I think that's what really sold me the most on the book, as where I thought I was going to be sold on the originating premise of Voluntary Committal.
Should we describe this premise for those less informed?
It's about a main character who has an autistic brother who spends his time building cardboard forts. And he builds more and more elaborate forts until at one point his forts become bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. And one of the main character's friends has the chance to then go inside said fort. And that's I think, enough of the story to kind of give you the idea. But as much as I've told you the premise of the story, it really doesn't have that much to do with what I've actually told you. It's more about the characters involved. So as much as that might give you an idea of what we're looking for in future movies or where we're heading in our next couple of episodes, I've also got to say this one wasn't as much fun for me as I felt like it could have been. The one that I really enjoyed the most.
From Joe Hill?
From Joe Hill.
It was the Rain of Needles one, right?
The Rain of Needles, yes. Yeah. That one hit me right off the bat as poignant and interesting, and I was invested in the premise and especially the characters. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that one really had me going, and I really enjoyed it.
I mean, I'm a big Joe Hill fan in general. I feel like every short story in that Rain of Needles book was really, really good,
Yeah, absolutely.
All winners. I wish they were all movies.
But yeah, I've been listening to Voluntary Committal, not reading it because I am lazy and...
Gosh. I'm the reader here.
Right, I read books rarely nowadays. I used to read more often. I am planning on rereading 100 Years of Solitude.
Which I just picked up. I've been reading that physically.
100 Years of Solitude has been a book that has spoken to me since I originally read it, and I have picked it up several different times. It is a remarkable read, and I feel it to be just a grossly encompassing narrative that really, it tells a lot about the human condition through a family structure. It's inspired a lot of more recent works. If you've seen Encanto, then you've seen work inspired by 100 Years of Solitude. The concept of magical realism was a concept first coined after Gabriel Garcia wrote this book. And it's a concept that's used also to describe Encanto. There's a direct link between these two, the book and the movie, without one being directly referential of the other.
One of the first things you told me about 100 Years of Solitude was that the character of the father reminded you of him.
Yeah.
Or him of you. And that was one of the first things I picked up almost immediately when I first started reading the first 25 pages. I was like, oh my god, this is Alan in a fictional form. It was very trippy.
Oh, I know. I identified with the father figure right off the bat. It was a similar situation to what I experienced when I read Cheaper by the Dozen when I was a child, but I actually hated Cheaper by the Dozen, and I just enjoyed the one character, as where with 100 Years of Solitude, it is a book that just it keeps me encompassed from the beginning to the end, and it always feels so impassioned and so powerful and leaves me in such a contemplative mood.
Right.
I get so sad when the train comes to the city. It's a hard point for me to continue